Hi guys, welcome back to Against the Grain. I'm the 8-Bit Reptile, and I just wanted to have a quick chat today around the first practice match that took place between Geelong and Hawthorne, and also the takeaways from the State of Origin game played between WA and Victoria, and any of the sort of Supercoach implications that we had from those games. So first up, we're ramping up now into the real stuff. So this is a time to really key in and take notice of what's going on in the league and seeing some role changes and potentially players that we want to take. But also just having a look at the state of the AFL in general. I know not many people are interested in what my take's going to be on the AFL, but from a Supercoach point of view, I think we can take away a few things. Now, keep in mind, none of these are hard takes. Obviously, there's still some time to sort of weigh up, but these are kind of preliminary kind of valuations on what's going on. So first off, the ruck situation from the State of Origin. Now, the State of Origin game was played at a much higher level than I expected it to be played. There was a bit of feeling between the two teams, a bit of pride as well, which was great. There was nothing like a hard tag on anyone. Both sides were basically left to kind of freewheel and win their own ball without much resistance. But having said that, my main takeaway from the State of Origin game was that although there was plenty of ruck share to be had, both teams ran sort of, four ruckmen or they ran a lot of ruckmen in the game. Nobody, I think, was any more than sort of 60% time on ground, and I think it was actually in the 50s. But judging by the new rules, I'm doubling down on saying that the ruck scores will be affected this year. They won't be affected to any great state where you'll be wrong to taking a premium ruckman, but I think somewhere in the realms of 10 to 15% based on the amount of ruck contests, the amount of throw-ins. Also, there's a bit of a horses for courses kind of situation coming where guys that are better in the middle of the ground because of the rule adjustments aren't going to be as good around the ground. And also your more agile, kind of guys coming up are not going to be as good in the ruck contests from the throw-ins, where wrestling does become a skill factor. So just from that and the overall decline in ruck contests around the ground, I think there is going to be a bit of a decline in what a ruckman can score, and also kind of your ability for a ruckman to become a transition player. I think that becomes more important. So that will see a decline across the board, somewhere in the realms of 10-15%. We also need to think about kind of the new rule where the umpire will just throw the ball up at a stoppage, irregardless of whether a nominated ruckman is in the vicinity or not. I think this will hurt your kind of traditional lumbering kind of ruckman and advance that kind of more agile, or possibly teams that are kind of running, secondary guys, or even, I can see teams maybe playing with the strategy where they run a rucking player, not necessarily a ruckman, in each third of the ground. And that player kind of, when the ball is in their third and there's a ball up, they instantly come over to nominate to ruck, just to get that speed in the game. So it's all things to consider, but it's also moving me towards my initial kind of gut feel around fading the ruck position and not over investing in that position. But that was just a cheeky little takeaway from that. What I also wanted to do, guys, was revisit kind of my do not pick selections from earlier in the season. Now, I don't want this to be kind of like I told you so kind of moment or anything like that. What I merely want this to be is kind of like a proof of concept, and just to also show you the rate of attrition that these picks have undergone since the beginning of the preseason, just to sort of further forewarn people over taking these types of picks as far as value picks. And you know, it's not to say that I'm not also tempted to take these guys at the price. The more you hear about them, you know, you're like, oh, you know, that guy really is undervalued for what he can do. But we're also lucky just with like that this has all happened and unfolded before the season proper has started. So the AFL or Supercoach, website has gone ahead and started to put injury tabs, these sort of injury tabs here against these players. But what I wanted to sort of highlight was how many of them have already had either outright injuries or very least interruptions straight away. So we've got, you know, Newman's injury is not significant. Ridley is seeing him in a race before time. So let's do this. Oh, okay. Hang on a second. Okay, so let's just have a bit of an overview. And look, we've already got rid of Newman, right? So let's take Ridley out. Ridley's had an interruption, and you've seen his percentage, his pick percentage gone from about 30% to 1. So that means a third of the league, had the season started, they would have taken Ridley had he had an uninterrupted preseason. So that's a third of the league you're already in front of. Caldwell, again, not out for an extended period of time, but an interruption. His percentage has dwindled. Day, we know, is out for a significant amount of time. Like, these guys have all gone from, you know, some were as high as 40-45% pick rate, and now they're out. Like, do you really want to be on the side of the 45% of teams that are taking these types of players and burning a trade when they're out? Like, this is what I was trying to warn against. So Day's out. Wardlaw's had interruption. He's also gone. Draper, again, foot injury, out. You won't be taking this guy. Brent Daniels' injury is not significant, but I mean, let's call it an interruption. He's gone. Layla, another one, interrupted. You wouldn't look at. Draper, warned against. He's out. Like, that's I mean, it's a good portion. That's 40% of the team. And another one, guys, as well, since coming in and getting the news now, is Treloar's had interruption now as well. And he was a guy, was massively selected. He's also out and probably outside of consideration. So of these guys that are left, and I know some of these are rookie picks, it's how many more are going to drop by the wayside. Like, are we, look, I don't blame you for looking at these guys and saying their value, but, you know, how many more are going to go by the wayside before? Like, look at this rate of attrition. Like, it's crazy. And again, we're probably going to run the do not picks against the guys that I said to select, even though it's looking heavily weighted now towards the select guys. But I'll also run a different, we can take, I mean, Smiley and Brian don't really count because they were out already. But I mean, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 players, 10, 11, 12. 12 out of potentially 30. And I'm not saying anyone would take 12 of them, but these weren't lower end risky picks. These were higher end guys that we were looking at value picks that you now have to look elsewhere. So, I mean, if you do want to look elsewhere, check out my other video, well, my do not pick video which I then, sort of suggested some picks to take. And like I was saying, we will run these picks against the other ones, and also my rookie picks against the do not take and take ones, and kind of make it interesting and kind of map that throughout the season. So just wanted to bring that up as something to consider. Okay, so what I also wanted to just touch on, guys, was the first inter, whatever it is, match between Geelong and Hawthorne. I was able to watch the entirety of the game, and just wanted to sort of talk about some players that may have some Supercoach relevance into our sides heading into the early season. So the first one I just sort of wanted to highlight was Oliver Dempsey. Now, of course, we know that Geelong were missing most of their premium midfielders via the way of the State of Origin game. But Oliver Dempsey certainly stepped into that role, and we know that he's a midfielder of some prominence with that club. He impressed me overall. Really looks like he's becoming, maybe not a leader, but certainly a guy taking ownership over that position, and certainly a star. If he's not already a star, but a star for the future. Would I select him in Supercoach? There is some value there. I can certainly see a world where he kind of pushes into that low 100, 105 kind of bracket. But just with his utilitarian kind of value, I can see Geelong kind of throwing his magnet around a bit, putting him behind the ball, half back, midfield, on the wing, even going forward at times. And I wouldn't talk you out of that pick, but for me, just not quite there, but certainly caught the eye, and definitely a player for the future. One that did catch the eye from Geelong, and I want to sort of focus on all Geelong players and then Hawthorne, was Lennox Hoffman. Now, Lennox Hoffman has gone into my team since this pick only because of the lack of visibility around Lockie Jacques for the Western Bulldogs. They're at the same price, but Hoffman kind of had a day out, and he was very eye-catching across that half-back line, giving dash, winning his own ball, contesting, and winning one-on-one contests, and having really smooth disposal. I really like the looks of Lennox, and he's one that should definitely go on your watch list early in the season, may get a game. So the next one is Mitchell Edwards in the ruck. Now, he did have his moments, and this kind of led me to my horses for courses kind of analogy that I was talking about earlier in the game. Mitchell Edwards looked really good in the center ruck contests when it was kind of required to sort of free jump. Geelong did start Sam De Koning as their first ruckman, but as the game went on, they also played the other guy as well, whose name escapes me just for right now. But Mitchell Edwards in the middle of the ground was certainly the pick of the bunch. He was able to leap over his opponents, but other than that, he kind of got shown up in the wrestling ball up sort of situations. He was pushed off the line quite easily by Ned Reeves, and certainly by Lloyd Meeks from Hawthorne. But the other thing about Mitchell Edwards was he did show a little bit in that transition game. He did offer himself as a link-up guy. He had a couple of moments below his knees to show his agility, where he was able to collect the ball, pick it up, and hit an opponent. So Mitchell Edwards definitely as a ruckman for the future, and certainly as a new evolution of what the ruck rules will produce. But just for right now, maybe took a step back as well, mainly for that ruck use around the ground. And also, now he may have only done what his team asked him to do, and it was a very hot day, but he did look a little bit behind the ball as far as tank point of view. So, I mean, he's a young guy, he's just starting out his career, so we're not writing him off right now. But just we're looking at $119,000 ruckman, right? Just didn't look quite up to standard, although showing glimpses. Probably just is out of my team anyway, put it that way. As far as, we're looking at Reedy, we're looking at Mitch Edwards, we're looking at McAndrews, and there's another guy that's entered the frame as well from this game who I'll chat about later. But Mitchell Edwards probably moves on the outside of selection amongst those players. Next one was Jay Polkinghorne. Now, he did turn a lot of heads. I think he had 3 goals in the end, and really put his hand up at 119,900 as a pure forward. He didn't do his chances any harm by how he conducted himself in that game. He was lively, took some really good contested grabs, and he's just one that just going. We're kind of a bit spoiled. I think probably it's hard to nail down on the midfielders at the moment. I think we're a bit spoilt from as far as defense rookies and forward rookies, but Polkinghorne certainly made his way onto my watch list and may get an early game based on those performances. Look good. Okay, the other next guy I wanted to talk about. Right, and I also just wanted to touch on Brian Myers. Brian Myers did see some midfield time. I'm not expecting him to get that role overall, but I just doubled down on Brian Myers being a top 6 forward for this year. I'm the only content creator that's kind of spruiking that choice of Brian Myers. This guy, with ball in hand, is the most dangerous player in the AFL. He's also, he's not physical enough to go and win his own ball in a contest, but if the ball's anywhere near him on the ground, he's the best pick up and release player that I can think of right now. And he's definitely going to be in my team. I don't have a graphic for him because I don't think he's talked about enough and there's not enough interest, but Brian Myers for me definitely is a definite pick in the forward line for this year. And has been a lock in my side from day one. So the next one that's not what I want to talk about. Next guy I want to talk about is Connor McDonald at 381,100. Now, Sam Mitchell, the coach, is it Sam Mitchell? I think that's his name. It's definitely Mitchell. Went ahead and scared everybody off by saying, look, McDonald's a forward. He's only going to play in the forward line, yada, yada, yada. I think that's a bit of a red herring from Mitchell, who we know is a gamesman. The thing you got to ask yourself is, why would Connor McDonald train with the midfield group all season just to have him go and play in the forward line all year? Now, I think what we saw here was a glimpse of what the role will be, which will be a split time between forward and midfield. But Connor McDonald certainly saw midfield time during that game. And to be honest, from what I saw, was pretty close to best on ground for Hawthorne. More best on ground from a forward point of view, score involvements, that sort of stuff. But I think if you look at kind of how an Isaac Rankin kind of goes about his business, a Keziah Pickett, these are guys that with midfield craft that look forward, that try to get on the end of passages of plays to set up forward opportunities for their teammates and also even maybe produce goals for themselves. I know Connor McDonald, I think he kicked a couple of goals, but his work around the ground. He was clean. He hit targets, and I expect that role to be at least about a 60-40. I'd say it was probably about a 40-60 split in this game, but I'm not scared off by Mitchell's comments. I'm sticking fat with Connor McDonald, and I think he's a great choice for this year. So I just wanted to highlight that. Next guy was Oliver Greaves. Now, only played about half the game. Had some nice moments. Again, I'm not saying this guy is a must pick, but another guy that certainly did himself no disservice by how he played in the minutes he was given. He's a big watch. He's definitely still in my side. Has done enough at 99,100 to retain his spot, retain interest, retain a belief that he will get an opportunity this year. It's also a budget choice. I mean, I have to take a 99,000, and as most of us, I think, will have to take at least one 99k player. But the takeaway from what I got from Greaves, and this is the first time I saw him, is he is a massive unit, guys. Like, he is ready for AFL football from a physicality point of view. I mean, this guy's bigger than most key forwards. He certainly looks bigger than, like, say, a Jesse Hogan. And he moved well. He hit targets. Didn't get a hell of a lot of it. I'm not going to say he was out here and it's eye-catching best on ground, but the moments he had, and he only played half a game, was certainly enough for me to sort of just check mark that off, and definitely a guy to put on a watch list. And if you're looking for a 99,000 guy that will probably get an opportunity this year, I'm going to give that to Oliver Greaves. And the last guy, this was a new one. This was the most interesting one for me, and I gave him the nickname of Mozart, is Aiden Schubert. Now, he's a $113,500 player with a ruck forward status. Obviously, Hawthorne aren't really short of talls, but just from Schubert's kind of performance, I think he kicked 1 goal, 2, was able to produce quite a lot of shots on goal, didn't do any ruck craft as far as I knew, but had an eye-catching kind of performance. And Cal Shadir went off briefly with a rib concern, was able to come back on. But I tell you what, if any of those guys, either Chol or Cal Shadir, was to come under some sort of duress and not be able to get up, I think Schubert's probably got the nod there, and I'm not 100% discounting him as far as the 5th position. Look, Hawthorne played both Meek and Ned Reeves, and they probably play those guys as 2 talls, but I could see Hawthorne just sneakily giving that 5th interchange spot to Aiden Schubert and just letting him kind of have a go, because, man, he was a live wire up there. And at 113,500, even if he was to sit on your bench for half the year, he's got that dual position status. I don't mind him as an option, and he's currently in my team. We don't want to overreact to obviously practice games, but at that price, dual position could be a better option than a Kalani White, or even a Liam Reedy if you're sort of leaning that way as far as an R3. The other thing to consider, guys, I just wanted to give some late mail, was around the injury to Tom Green. The other takeaway I had from the State of Origin was that Stephen Caniglio was actually moving quite well. He's a good budget option. The other thing to consider is also what impact, either positive or negatively, that will have on Callaghan for GWS. And I'm kind of leaning away from Callaghan, just from that Tom Green kind of grunt. Obviously Finn Callaghan is a handball receive magnet, but without that grunt and that side, without that kind of ball winning presence, I'm kind of off Finn Callaghan, and Finn Callaghan as well has had his own injury concerns, and is looking unlikely for round 1 or round 0, whenever their first game is. So I just wanted to pass that on. The other one from the other takeaway from the State of Origin game is that Matt Rowell actually broke a finger, and will obviously be in limited duties. This won't affect his ability to run and keep his tank up, but will probably miss a game or 2. Does that bring Petrarca in as a inside midfielder to consider, or forward line, obviously a forward selection. So that was just my quick takeaway, guys. We'll continue to monitor and watch the preseason and practice matches as they come to hand. But just wanted to share this information with you as well. So anyway, guys, I've been the 8-Bit Reptile. You've been amazing. I'll see you next time. Bye.